there is a lot to read for this question, and it is very tempting to kind of take shortcuts as you read, right? It's going to take a lot of time. I got to move fast. But generally speaking, the reason people get percentage questions wrong is they don't read carefully. One word is all it takes to completely change the math involved in any particular percentage question. And this is not an exception. If anything, they did it even more here. If we misread this, if we don't quite understand the question that they're asking us, we will get the wrong answer. And many of you probably are watching this because that's exactly what happened. So you got to be careful on any percentage question, but especially one that has all this text. They're trying to distract you and make you take a shortcut that you shouldn't take. So let's read everything. First part is kind of, extra. According to the 2010 census, the adult population aged 18 years or greater of the United States in 2010 was 234,564,071. In 2010, a survey was conducted among a randomly chosen sample of adults aged 18 years or greater in the United States about their preference to live in a warm climate or a cool climate. The table below displays a summary of the survey results. Okay, just kind of setting us up. And if we look at the chart very quickly, right, I can see these different age groups. I can see we've got warm, cool, no preference. We got different totals here, so lots of data. Now we get to the meat of the thing. Question. Which of the following is closest to the difference between the percentage of adults aged 18 to 50 years who responded warm and the percentage of adults aged 51 years or greater who responded warm? Okay, you gotta really be careful with that. It's so sneaky. So most of you are gonna realize that aged 18 to 50 years, so if we just take this little group, right, we're actually grouping two things, right? The 295 and the 246 are two different rows, but they are grouping them together into one group. So we have to do that, right? So we could use a regular calculator and just be like, okay, 295 plus 246 is 541. So there's 541 adults in this survey in this particular group. Now this is where I'd be really careful, and I know this is a pretty basic percentage mathematically, but the language of this is we gotta be careful here. So we don't know the percent, right? We don't know that. That's what we're solving for. We know the new value, right? We haven't figured out the total yet, but we know the new value, the percent that we want to correspond with is this 541 people, okay? What's the original? If you put 1,600, you will get this question wrong. That is not what it says. And the way I know this is, remember, the original is always what the word of kind of points us to in the question. So what does it say? Which of the following is close to the difference between the percentage of adults aged 18 to 50 who responded warm, right? It's not percent of all adults in the survey. It's of the specific age group. So the of here is another two things we've got to add up, the 508 and the 410. So 508 plus 410 is 918. That's my original. And that's the problem. That's what most people are going to do wrong. So if now you're like, oh, I didn't realize that. Now you should be able to solve the rest of the question without me, but let's finish it off. But that right there, oh boy. So some of you are also not going to use the open formula to get this kind of simple of a percent. You're just going to do a fraction. You're going to say, oh, this is my numerator, this is my denominator. I'm doing the same thing, guys. It's just I set it up slightly differently. And the reason I like to do it differently is I'm very worried about that of. I'm very worried about that original. If I pick the wrong thing, it's game over. So P is actually going to be equal to 541 divided by 918, which is 0.589, so 58.9%. Okay, so that's the first half of the question. We're not even done, because now we have to compare that to the percentage of adults age 51 years or greater who responded warm. So again, we're combining two groups. So 238 plus 137 is 375. 375. And again, we don't want the 1,600. We're not talking about everyone. We're talking about of these groups, right? So we're just talking about those totals. So 403 plus 279 is 682. 682. So again, just use that open formula. So we have out of 682 of those adults, what percent said warm? That's the 375. So again, we're dividing, we're getting P is equal to 375 divided by 682 is 0.5499. So 54.99%. So what's that difference? I mean, I can just see it, right? So it's basically 59% minus 55% is 4%, which is the answer. So in a way, it's not hard, right? In a way, what do we really do mathematically to get this? We added some numbers, we divided some numbers. Those are some of the simplest things you can do with numbers, right? That's very simple math, arithmetic. But obviously, this is not an easy question. This is hard. Most people are going to get this wrong. Most people are going to get this wrong. So the reason they're going to get it wrong is your instinct is to go out of the total, right? I mean, you see it there. You see that 1600. You can't help yourself. You want that to be the total. You want that to be what we're taking the percentage out of because it just feels natural. But that's the thing with any percentage question, but especially one where they give us so much information in a chart. The point of the question is not the math. It's not the arithmetic. They know you can do that. They know you can type two things into a calculator and divide. They're testing your ability to read. This is a reading question and understanding how slight changes in wording dramatically affect the statistics that we're finding, right? The percentages in this case. So you have to be very, very careful, very vigilant when you're dealing with any percentage question. This is the kind of thing that someone would answer on an SAT and never think twice about. No one would think, when you guys go on Reddit or whatever, or talk with your friends after the test is over and you're talking about the hard question, no one's talking about this. No one even knows that this was hard when they did it. They got it wrong. Most people, I think, are going to pick C because I'm pretty sure that that's what you get if you use the 1600 as the original value in both of your things. So correct me if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. But I'm pretty sure that's what you would get if you did it that way and you made that mistake. So no one's talking about this question after the test because all of you answered it incorrectly. All of you who answered it incorrectly had no clue, had no idea that you were doing it wrong because you weren't paying attention to those little words. And so part of preparing for the SAT is learning where the words really, really, really matter. And percentage questions, you have to be just extremely careful. There's no other way to put it. Like one word can make a difference. If it said, which of the following is close to the difference between the percentage of adults who responded warm and were aged 18 to 50, then the answer is going to be C, basically. If they switched it, if they moved that aged 18 to 50, just kind of slightly after the who, then it changes the answer completely, right? And the words don't even have to change. They just change the order of them. And then it's going to completely change the answer. So you got to be careful of this. This also reminds me a bit of a probability question where conditional probability matters, right? They're telling you to choose from certain groupings. It's the same kind of thing. So if that is what happened here, if you got that wrong, I'm sorry, but this is not a one-off question. They're going to try to pull this again at some point. So you've got to train yourself not to take shortcuts on percentage questions.